Okay.
Okay.
We got refills. I got a
Still
sour.
on my other one, but I have a backup down.
You do.
down
It's right
there.
here.
It's a seltzer mimosa,
Naturally.
naturally.
Okay, so
Okay.
the real reason we're here. When Matt Damon and Ben Affleck.
Is that the real reason we're here?
Yeah, when they get together to
Wow.
make a movie,
You're excited about it.
you better stop and take notice.
You better stop and take notice.
Because we've seen Good Will Hunting.
And you know what?
We've seen The Last Duel.
I love me some Matt Damon. I loved The Last Duel. It might go down in history as one of my favorite movies, honestly.
So what do they
I
follow
loved
it up with? A movie about a shoe.
Air.
Yeah.
Air.
The Amazon original.
So we had to
Air.
see it because it's Matt Damon and Ben Affleck.
Yeah. So should we cut to the chase real quick?
Let's cut to the
Since
chase.
we're in that mood, is this a yay or nay for you?
A nay. It was terrible.
Yeah, it's a nay.
That movie is terrible. And I heard good things about it before going into it.
Well, Matt Damon No, I'm sorry. Ben Affleck they didn't write this like they did The Last Duel. And with The Last Duel, they wrote it and Ridley Scott directed it. Good Will Hunting, they wrote it. Someone else, Gus Van Sant, directed it. Someone else directed Air. No, I mean, Ben Affleck directed Air. Someone else wrote Air. Ben Affleck's a good director.
Yeah. I mean, I think they both are good actors and directors. But this movie, it was so hard on nostalgia. It relied so much on nostalgia.
Yeah, I think that was my instant. It's
and
funny.
and it was like cliche nostalgia.
Yeah, right?
It wasn't even like, oh, wait. If you grew up in that time, which we both did.
No, it definitely played to our
It played to it, but it was too cliche.
Our nostalgia.
It wasn't like deep cut nostalgia.
No, to
it
me,
was
this felt the extent of, they say now, like, we're less about, like, making art or whatnot, and we're all about making content.
Yeah.
This felt like, Amazon needs some more content,
Yes.
so let's make content.
It didn't feel like two huge, like, movie maker, actor people made this movie.
Well, I felt everybody was just, except, it's funny.
Mediocre.
Well, yeah, Jason Bateman.
Jason Bateman was better. I mean, Jason Bateman was one of the best things of the movie.
But here's the thing. Jason Bateman, Matt Damon, Viola Davis, they're just playing how they act. They're playing their part.
Yeah.
I think Ben Affleck, to his credit, was the only one kind of
going out of character.
Going out of character. I felt he was the best performance of the film. Even though he comes off a little cheesy and silly.
Yeah.
But everybody else is like Viola Davis. Of course, Viola Davis can give like thoughtful, strong performance, hard mom, like caring mom performance, but that serious look.
Yeah.
Of course, Matt Damon can be Matt Damon, even if he has a belly. He can still be the Matt Damon, like, likable guy. Jason Bateman's being Jason Bateman.
Yeah, he is. Jason Bateman's being Jason Bateman, for sure.
Ben Affleck was the only one who I would normally, if you polled me, like said, rank these actors, Ben Affleck would be the bottom of the list. Like, who's the better actor of the list?
But he did the best in this
But
movie.
I think he did the best in Air.
Which says something.
Right, it does.
Says something. It wasn't a great movie. There was a lot of cheesy moments, cringeworthy moments.
Well, I think it couldn't find its tone. Like, sometimes I was like, is this supposed to be a more serious, like, docudrama? Is this supposed to be a comedy?
Right.
Like the guy who designs the Jordan Air shoe, his character was almost comical.
Yeah.
And you find out at the end that real person has passed on.
I also just feel like it wasn't that
Well, it was a love letter.
significant.
It was a love letter to Nike.
Yeah.
And like,
it wasn't that significant.
Which I thought was funny. because though it was playing to people of our age who was like, hey, listen, remember all this music that you used to like? It was a way to kind of sugarcoat that, like, oh no, but also you forgot to mention that Nike also in the 90s was big in the news because all their shoes are made in sweatshops.
Yes.
And had bad labor practices overseas.
I don't think I ever
But
owned
it
a
came
pair
off
of
to a love
Nikes.
letter like Nike is the greatest shoe company ever made.
Listen, at that time, you wore Keds if you're a girl. Adidas were big
Yeah.
back then. Like
Converse as the alternate Reebok, and then the 90s as like alternative
Converse.
stuff, music. Converse were like
I was
the
a
big deal.
Keds girl. Like I had every color Keds.
But I just thought it was funny. Like I remember growing up, Nike was sort of, especially when the 90s hit, the bad guy because of their poor labor practices and the sweatshops but this movie was like, no, Nikes are the savior.
Hey, everybody. We just signed Michael Jordan!
We had to move. We had
to change the lights changing on
lighting
us.
is changing, so we had to move a little
So
bit.
all I was saying was, typically I warm up to a movie over time.
I'm just gonna hold it.
Air has only made me like dislike it more the more I get away from it.
Me too.
Right?
I
Like-
really am disappointed that I watched a Ben Affleck,
Now, do I
Matt
think
Damon movie.
is it a terrible movie? No.
No, it's just, it is what it is. It's cliche. It is what it is.
Yeah, the one thing that bothered me was the constant, like, just tell the story, let it be the movie. But it was, oh, remember when cell phones in cars when car
thing.
phones were a novelty.
Or a novelty. You have a car and a phone? I mean,
Yeah.
a phone and a car? Oh my
So
God.
every little thing, like, and there's shots, like you even commented when it was happening, when Matt Damon's character is driving to North Carolina, they purposely show a shot of him looking at an atlas, like a road map.
Yeah.
Like, remember?
Remember when we looked at maps?
Yeah, you couldn't look on your phone.
And all of that, like, I'm very nostalgic. Like, I love all that, but it was too in your face. It was too much. It wasn't subtle at all.
I
It
think
wasn't like, it was just like,
I think
too
the tipping
much.
point was
I think they relied too much on that.
yeah,
for the
no, it was
movie.
constant of, oh, remember when.
Yeah.
I think the tipping point was the Cyndi Lauper Time After Time musical
That was the
montage.
cringeworthy part. I'm like, really? I like that song, but the way they used it,
Yeah.
didn't work. It didn't work. It wasn't appropriate for that moment. It wasn't
Right.
the right song for it.
Yeah, just a lot of it was just bad choices left and right. But I think Ben Affleck's performance was pretty good.
Yeah,
For Ben Affleck.
you know, he's just in a good place in his
2
life
episodes
right
in a
now.
row we've talked about Ben Affleck. We talked about him in Gone Girl.
Oh, okay.
I only know this because our editor for our video podcast, he lets me know all the stuff.
Right, got it. Okay. This drink is cold in my hand, so I can't hold it.
So then,
Our next movie
the night
was
before, last night, we
The
did
last
watch
night.
the film Inside with Willem
Inside.
Dafoe. About a guy who tries to steal a painting,
a couple paintings.
3 paintings, and gets locked inside of a
Huge
penthouse suite.
penthouse suite condominium type.
Yeah, at the top of a
New York City or something.
skyscraper building.
Yeah. And it was good. I liked it
So it's a yay?
lot. Definitely a yay. And I mean, it was definitely like it had vibes of can't think of the name of the movie, but the Tom Hanks Wilson
Castaway.
Castaway vibes.
Well, any of those films
but
where
in a New
it's
York
like
City
one actor.
condominium with not a lot of dialogue,
Who's sort of on their own.
kind of thing.
To me, that's kind of like a Hitchcock, like a modern Hitchcock vibe.
Yeah. But I like Willem Dafoe. Like, I
Yeah.
like him. He's a good actor.
If you're gonna do stir crazy, do Willem Dafoe.
Yeah. It was a good pick.
It doesn't top his Lighthouse performance,
No.
but not many things do.
I seen it. You're fond of me lobster.
It was a good movie, though. I liked it. I mean, just the seeing, thinking like, what would you do in that situation? Hopefully you wouldn't be stealing art from a penthouse, but if you were locked in somewhere, like, what would you do in that situation? Like, how would you survive? Like, how would you cope? Kind of, so you kind of saw some like things that felt like, okay, I could see myself doing that. Like, I could see myself dancing to the Macarena. You're just like keeping yourself sane at first. Keeping yourself light, like figuring that things are going to work out. And I liked the dogs at a brewery. Here we are. But it is connected to Health Mutt, so it's more acceptable. But I think that I liked the house cleaner lady kind of like panning off to shots of her and him trying to kind of becoming somewhat like infatuated with her in a way. I liked that aspect of the film. That was probably my favorite kind of part of the film.
Yeah. No,
that kind of the way they incorporated that.
Yeah, it's good because the movie eventually gets there. So what's nice, first thing the movie has to get out of the way, which it does good, is addressing all the things the armchair experts would say while you're watching the film, right? Like, oh, what about this? What about the water? What about trying to bust down the door? Like all the what ifs, right? Because
Right.
part of the problem with a movie like this, if it's someone's trapped inside of a building, a room, is you're watching it and you sort of say what you would do, right?
Yeah.
So I'm glad it wasn't solely, because that's really not what the movie's about.
No.
But you have to address that stuff.
For sure.
And then, like even your part about, because it's a fancy bourgeois place that has trees and whatnot inside of the apartment and its own little micro irrigation system, because the water shuts off or whatever. When it goes into like malfunction, lockdown mode,
Everything shuts off.
water doesn't work, all this stuff. But the micro irrigation setup for the trees
Is separate
does.
from all that. Yeah.
And even while we're watching it, you were like, he needs to collect that water when the micro irrigation turns on the schedule. And it cuts later to say, look, yeah, he has bowls
Yes,
set
he
up.
understands it's on a schedule and
Yeah.
it's going to come on again.
And there's things like, what about the freezer? What about ice? What about this? Like all the things that you
They
would
address all
say
those things.
as an armchair expert of while you're watching it. So it gets
I
those
like
out of the
how you're
way.
using the word armchair expert.
Right. I'm glad you picked up on it.
Yeah.
But then it gets in like your point about the maid, the worker in the building, that it's a fascinating movie that even though he's in this luxurious place,
he socially attaches himself to her,
but
even
it's
though
this
he's
need
never
for some sort of social
That's
connection.
what I'm saying. That's the fascinating
He's
part about it.
watching everyone's life happen on the closed circuit security cameras, and even the pigeons that land outside the window.
He starts talking to them. That's your favorite part.
Oh,
I
definitely
know.
my favorite part. Him
Yeah.
talking to the birds.
Yeah.
But it talks about that, and then but this idea of, because it bookends itself with this voiceover about when he was in elementary school, his teacher asked him what 3 things would he take with him on like an island, if you will, like a desert island. And he talks about a cat, a book of sketches, and I can't remember the other thing. What's the third
I
thing?
can't remember the other thing either.
But
But it was nothing significant.
yeah, but the point being is like the cat will die, the people or the things you love will die, but your art is for keeps. Art is what you take with you, right?
And it was significant in the fact that he wouldn't take his mother, father, family.
Yeah, but even those things, as the point of like the cat, is his favorite album, the ACD
Oh,
album,
yeah, AC/DC album.
which he had then lent to a friend and never got it back. But like,
So materialistic items were more important to him than family.
no, I didn't read it as that. It was.
I kind of read it as both.
No, I read it because there was a scene later in the movie when he said, when he was kind of hallucinating, that he went to the art show of the owner of the place, and the owner of the apartment asked him, he said, what did he say? He said, is man an island? Or is basically like, are you an island, or what did he say? He said like,
Yeah.
or is mankind, is man an island, or would it
I don't
be
remember
basically,
what
would
it
it be
said, but
better to
I-
be alone? Like, are you alone with on an island yourself, or within yourself are you alone?
Right.
Right?
Well,
And so to me, part of the point of it all was that you yourself, like all the things, people, even family members, pets you love, things you cherish will eventually go away.
yeah,
at the
they're
end-
mortal.
That at the end you at your core are all that matters. And if you are not comfortable or content with yourself, that's the point in life. And that the owner of this place surrounded himself with all this great art that was also representation of his life, his visions and whatnot.
I took it like that, but I also took it as, when he chose those 3 things, he chose things that were basically materialistic,
But the art
but
book,
important.
but the only thing that stayed
to
with him,
him.
the only thing he still had was his sketchbook.
Right.
Right.
But wait, 1 second. But the fact that he wouldn't bring anybody with him to help him, protect him, or whatever, in the end, he's going to be alone.
Yeah, but it's that idea of like,
And that's the whole metaphor, because in the end, he was alone.
yeah, and then that's,
Because nothing else is more important to him than stealing this art.
but at the end of the movie, he said, no, not quite spoilers, but spoilers, right? He wrote a letter on the wall to the owner of the home, and he said, I've spent time in your home, and though I've destroyed most of it, right? Because all your materialistic things will be destroyed or not, but he keeps and preserves 3 things, like the works of art, right? And he said, your home, to you, this place might be a home. To me, it was a cage,
Of course.
right? But I've kept 3 things undestroyed, and that was the works of art. And so it's this idea of, in the scope or span of your life, right? Because even it's something else I was listening to or watching. Maybe it was Hank Green and his cancer announcement, unfortunately. Maybe it was something else. But it was this idea. Maybe it was Rainn Wilson, which we watched his documentary,
and you won't let me
his
talk
show.
about
You can
it.
mention it. The Geography of
It's
Bliss
so
on Peacock.
good.
About finding happiness.
So good.
But this point
So
is, even loved ones that you bring up, once someone dies, once you die, within 2 to 3 generations, you will be forgotten.
Of course.
That's the reality.
Yeah. 100%.
That the memory of you will no longer exist.
100%.
And it's sort of a bleak, frightening thought if you cling hard on to this idea of consciousness and existence. But as the movie says, art is for keeps, right? Art is the only thing. I know what it was now. Is this guy who makes music I listen to. He made a YouTube video about why do you make music?
Okay.
Venus theory.
Okay.
And his point was in 2 to 3 generations, you'll be forgotten, no matter
But
what.
something you can leave behind will be remembered.
But art, and that's sort of like what this movie was, right? There was that neon art piece on the wall that said every moment, all the time after this moment.
Yeah, that was like a
right?
theme throughout the movie.
So you could tell the person who owned the place, art, it was surrounded by his creations, his art creations, which were all a struggle to explain his own existence and living on.
Yeah.
Between his child and his dog and
Right.
his own, he made a version of his own body later,
Right,
like a
right.
corpse, like his death. We're good. Thank you so much. So to me, part of it was like, oh, art lives on. Like
Yeah.
what you create, your only time on this earth, you can leave things behind to represent
I
you.
get that. Yeah.
So I mean,
get
to me,
that.
that was this like,
I think it was like a both. I
Yeah,
think that was that message, but also like if that's what you prioritize, which is not a bad thing to prioritize like art and something creative and something you can leave behind. But if you don't prioritize people in your lives, you end alone.
yeah. What's interesting, right? Because people, his crew that was robbing this apartment,
Oh, they abandoned
they
him
abandoned him
immediately.
instantly.
Which was part of that theme, I think.
Right.
That, like, you know, if you don't say, like, if I could take 3 things with me in my world, I would take you.
Appreciate that. I appreciate it. I'd take my sketchbook. I don't.
I would take you
No, I understand that. Yeah, yeah.
because you are a piece of my happiness.
That's nice. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'd take you too.
Oh, thanks. Are you just saying that? Drink more beer.
No, so I think the point is with
Yeah,
Inside.
no, I get it. Yeah.
Is Inside a great movie? No.
No.
But it does the point of a film that there's a lot to unpeel with it.
Yeah. I liked the themes and messages it was sending. There was a couple points in the movie that I wish I would have had a piece of paper and written it down because I had some like really like in-depth thoughts about something and I didn't.
Yeah.
You remember me saying that? Like, oh, I got
Yeah, I know. Yeah. You were like, we're
And now
podcasting about this.
I don't
You kept
remember.
saying that.
I don't remember what they were now.
But even
So
like
next time I have those thoughts, I'm going to write them down. But
even like him building the sort of ladder up
Yeah,
to
yeah,
the
up to
skylight
the sky.
with all the furniture and all the whatnot, and then Willem Dafoe continually singing like, "Oh, I'm going up to heaven."
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
like
yeah.
he was singing that sort of like, "I'm going on the hillside, I'm going up to heaven," like, and
But
then not really knowing, did he get out? Did he not get out? Like,
Yeah,
the ambiguousness of it all, it's intriguing. There's just so much.
yeah, there was so
There.
much there, and it was definitely a movie. I wish I would have written some things down as I was watching it, but I didn't because I was tired, as I always am when we're watching movies. But it was great. I mean, it wasn't great. It was good, and I enjoyed the watch, and I liked the experience, and it was a good movie.
Yeah.
And we had been
I
anticipating
figured
watching
it would be good.
it.
Since
Yeah.
we saw the trailer for it in some
And-
movie.
Willem Dafoe, just by looking at him, he's
Oh,
a
yeah.
yogi. He's a yogi.
Well, we
He
then
does
wanted.
yoga. I mean, like, I'm looking at him on this film, and I'm like, Willem Dafoe does yoga because
He's
the way
limber.
he's sitting, just his natural like tendencies of his posture, whatnot.
Yeah.
You're like, he does yoga. He's a true yoga person.
Which we then Googled and saw that
Found
he's
out
like.
that we were right.
He's head deep into yoga.
Deep. Yeah. Which makes me like him even more. He has a weird rib cage, which always
he has
like
the sunken belly and the
he has like a
protruding rib
sunken
cage.
belly and like a protruding rib cage, and he's way too skinny. But that's only my opinion, and that's not a judgment. But he is so limber, and he is very like in touch with his body and yoga and whatnot. So that makes me even like him even more.
No, he does good work.
Yeah.
So Inside was a nice, like it's exactly kind of what I thought it would be, but really good. What?
Do you want to taste my mimosa?
It's good.
Yeah.
So Inside's a yay.
Yay. Yes.
It's an easy, like, for the price of a rental, $4.99, you get a month of
It's an easy
Peacock.
watch. Yes.
Which then you can watch Rainn Wilson's Geography of Bliss TV series about
my God,
Rainn Wilson
I
just
cannot
trying to find
wait.
happiness.
And this is it a series? Docu-series.
It's like a small little series, yeah. It feels like a PBS series, honestly.
It is so good. I found myself in tears towards the end, like not of like sadness or happiness, just of like blissfulness.
It feels
honestly,
genuine
like,
and sincere.
It's so genuine. It's so sincere. It's so lovely
For a guy
to
who
watch.
played Dwight on The
Yes.
Office.
It's so lovely to watch. It's so authentic. I cannot wait to watch the next episode.
Yeah.
And we just kind of put it on while we were doing stuff around the house. And again, I got like sucked in and like
Well, I
pulled
saw him
myself
on the
to
Pete,
the couch.
on the
and-
Pete Holmes podcast, and he was challenging Pete Holmes and like, no, there's way if you put the work in yourself, there's ways to find happiness.
Well,
without-
he's saying you don't need psychedelics. You don't need drugs.
You don't need other
You
things.
don't
Like,
need.
you can find happiness if you put the work in yourself.
if you put the work in.
Yeah.
You experience things. You meditate. You
Yeah.
just
So for
bring
that,
it
I
from your
sought
own
out
mind.
like his Peacock show.
I'm a huge Rainn Wilson fan now.
Right? Yeah.
And I am excited about this docuseries that I'm going to keep watching.
No, we'll watch it. Yeah. Like I said,
Yeah.
you spend $4.99 for a month.
Yeah, definitely.
And you see-
I loved it.
You get Peacock and you see the inside, and
Yeah,
that's it.
definitely. I'm in.
You know what? So
So-
we'll end this. So it's one strong yay, and rarely, I was thinking about it, when it comes to Air, 2013's Air, about the Air Jordan shoe. It's been rare that you and I have both like just like trashed a movie.
Nay. That's true. We never do.
Because I usually celebrate film. Like I find the good in it.
We find things we like about it, but this was hard.
Apart from Ben Affleck, I couldn't find much in
It
there.
was hard. It was hard.
Which I'm shocked that I'm saying Ben Affleck.
I know, but whatever.
Okay. All right, well, let's get out of here. They're closing soon at
They're closing.
in 8 minutes.
We gotta go.
So,
So, this is fun.
yep.
Cheers.
Oh, yeah, we always cheers. Here we go. And bye.
Bye.